recapping some of the events which led to the establishment of the Higgins Commission in late 2014, early 2015. And the Commission was established to investigate in detail the very serious allegations made by Garda Sergeant Maurice McCabe into Garda malpractice in the Kevin Monaghan Division about Garda investigations into serious crime. And this followed months of controversy and a refusal by the government to deal properly with allegations that crimes were not properly investigated. The crimes which were not properly investigated, as the O'Higgins report finds, were of the most serious nature, including false imprisonment, assault, murder and sexual assault. Justice O'Higgins finds that investigations into these crimes were deficient, and it is the victims of these crimes who have been let down the most and who deserve our utmost sympathy and solidarity in the furore that has ensued following the report's publication. The publication, of course, was marred by almost 2 weeks of selective and disruptive leaking in advance of its release by the Justice Minister. Then there was more leaking of transcripts associated with the Commission's work. The media management of a report of this importance is entirely unacceptable, and so was the leaking of the papers that were part of it. Will the leaking of the report be properly investigated? Have you considered this? And if so, who will do this? Such action undermines the culture of openness, transparency and accountability that is required in the operation of our policing and justice systems. It's worth noting that the Taoiseach told the Dáil, following the publication of the Gurin report, that there was a need for a root and branch analysis of the administration of justice. And I agree with that statement. Sinn Féin has been critical of the unhealthy relationship between the offices of the Garda Commissioner and the Department of Justice over the years. In the aftermath of numerous controversies, we called for a new dispensation for the depoliticisation of oversight, for the establishment of an independent policing board similar to that arising from the Patent Commission in the North. Under this process, the Garda Commissioner would have been accountable to the Independent Policing Authority with full powers to hold the Gardaí to account. That's what we proposed, but that's not what the government produced. There is a policing authority, yes, but the most senior Garda, the Commissioner, remains accountable to the Minister for Justice. Wouldn't it be far better for the Commissioner and for the Minister of Justice, any Minister of Justice, if this wasn't the case? And in this case, it is a Minister of Justice who refuses to answer questions in this Dáil put to her by the opposition, whose job it is to hold her to account. The Taoiseach has also refused to answer the same questions when I put them to him. And I must also say it's bizarre and unacceptable that just as the policing authority was about to assume responsibility for the most senior Garda appointments, the government pulled the rug from under them yesterday and appointed 4 assistant Garda Commissioners. There can be no justification for this. The government's appointment of the 4 new assistant Garda Commissioners subverts the role of the very policing authority it established. And such action doesn't bode well, again, for a more open, accountable culture in the administration of policing and justice. So why then did the government make these appointments? Why not let the Garda authority do this? Just before the O'Higgins Commission was eventually established, the Taoiseach intervened and played a central role in all these matters when the Attorney-General informed him during a telephone conversation that she did not trust the integrity of her phone and she needed to speak to him in respect in person of a particular matter. She alerted the Taoiseach to the issue of the taping or tapping of telephone calls in and out of Garda stations. And after months of telling the Dáil that there was nothing to see, the Taoiseach acted in an entirely unorthodox and unacceptable way. And I said this at the time. This all happened in the run-in to the events which led to the unprecedented resignations of the Garda Commissioner, the confidential Garda recipient, the then Minister for Justice, Alan Shatter, and the Secretary-General at the Department of Justice. Unprecedented events. Mr Shatter was, of course, central to the difficulties which emerged arising from the whistleblowers' revelations about practices in the upper echelons of the Gardaí. The Garda whistleblowers were smeared and bullied. There was a clear attempt to smear Garda Morris McCabe's good name through the calculated leaking which emerged in the weeks before the publication of the Higgins report. And such attacks on his good character are extremely worrying. They will no doubt make other potential whistleblowers think twice before coming forward. This is what happens to you when you do what he did. And this could well contribute to what the Higgins report concluded was the closing of ranks. The Higgins report vindicates Sergeant McCabe as a man of integrity and a highly competent Garda committed to the good of the force. And yet accusations have emerged about how the Garda Commissioner briefed her legal team for the Higgins Commission. This afternoon, the Garda Commissioner issued a statement. It provides very little clarity on the issues that I and others have raised with the Taoiseach and the Taoiseach. Despite there being no legal impediment to the Commissioner providing full clarity, the statement fails to provide the full detail of her instructions to her legal team. Of concern is the fact that she states that her legal team was not instructed to impugn the integrity of Sergeant Morris McCabe. But further on, she suggests that it would not have been unreasonable or improper for such a strategy to be pursued. In the light of the contradictory claims being made about the Commissioner's instructions to her legal team, this comment lends weight to the belief that Sergeant Morris McCabe's integrity really was at stake. Her legal counsel has already confirmed that he challenged the motivations and credibility of Sergeant McCabe. How does one logically question one's motivations and credibility without also impugning their integrity? So such semantics don't instil confidence in the Commissioner's capabilities to oversee the root and branch culture change so badly needed within and Garda Síochána. I understand from the Commissioner's statement that the two senior officers who interviewed Sergeant McCabe are to be investigated by GSOC. I would like to know, and perhaps the Minister will enlighten us, as to when this referral was made. Was it simply made because of the mounting public disquiet, or was it when the Commissioner received the report? The Higgins report contains a number of important recommendations, and I think it's vital that these are implemented in full and without delay. The problem is that it's the Commissioner who has to do this. Yet there has been no holding the Commissioner to account by the Minister about the questions I and others have asked about the Commissioner's instructions to our legal team. The Dáil has not been given a satisfactory explanation. The Minister has not even told the Dáil yet, not yet, whether she has even asked the Commissioner about this. So here we are, almost 10 days on since we asked these questions, and the Minister hasn't even told us if she asked the Commissioner about these issues of controversy. So this debate, unfortunately, is not the end of this matter. The Commissioner's statement today is not the end of the matter. Despite the efforts of Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael to close ranks in defence of the Commissioner, Sinn Féin will continue to press for full disclosure in respect of the Commissioner's role in the Morris McCabe affair. This requires the Minister of Justice to hold the Commissioner to account and to answer legitimate questions in the Dáil about how she did this. Gordon Margaret,
The Adams.